So the question truly remains, how does one arrest somebody who is immune to laws? Can't believe it's, extraterritoriality. That's just so many syllables. So there's nothing we can really do about that, so I guess the game is over. In the end, we didn't have enough authority to bring him to justice. Bit of a downer, ain't it? I can't believe that even though we know he's the boss, we can't lay a finger on him. I know. Lang is displeased. Hey, Mr. Prosecutor, sorry to skip out on you, but I got some business to take care of. Namely, the unbelievable infections in my leg. There are bugs crawling through it. Might want to check on that. We can't even give an evil guy like him a slap on the wrist. And what the heck were laws created for? What good are they? If the law can't help us, then I'll go as the Yatagatasu and take care of this myself. In what regard? Don't you dare! Mr. Edgeworth. Sorry, that was a bit too harsh. I know how you feel, sir. We're trying to take on an ambassador after all. And he did tell us earlier to get out of the theater. This is kind of their country, I guess. But I feel like I've been slapped across the face for just doing my job. Well, that's mostly because we all have been. What am I going to do? Should I retreat for now and formulate a better plan of attack? More or less, do I even have that choice? Oh, come on, everyone! We can't give up yet. Dear God, she's throwing out the motivational speeches! Okay. I want you to think about something for a sec. Belgian waffles? We've never let up for even a second. Even as long as we don't stop investigating, we might find the rotten treasure hidden here. She's right. Come on, Mr. Edgeworth, get some oompa in your pants. You're right, Kay. Very well. Let us reopen the investigation and see what we find. Come on, Kay. Right behind you. Okay, then I'll go check out Babel a bit more, sir. And I have something that I need to investigate further in Alabast. And then we were left alone. I certainly hope they both actually come up with something. That would be nice. Now then, before I gather any more information, I should do a bit of housekeeping. Passion flowers data erased from my organizer. Ah, alright, that's the one and only thing I decided to remove from the inventory, it seems. Oh, Ambassador Alba seemed agitated over something. Probably the fact that we're on to the fact that he's a murder man? That seems like a pretty justifiable reason to be upset. I wonder why. I wonder why. There are two special circumstances that surround the ambassador. First, the embassy itself has extraterritorial rights. If something happens on Alabastian soil, we are unable to legally prosecute him. Cool. Sounds like embassies are the perfect place to steal whatever you want. And Murder Damas 2 run a smuggling operation and make counterfeit bills, apparently. I thought all the counterfeiting was done by Mr. Cochet in Babel. Yes, he apparently used the embassy's coupon printing press to do it. Alright. I got myself some logic bits. But it's the same story over there anyway. Babel also has extraterritorial rights. That's a big word! Which brings me to my next point. The ambassador's extraterritorial rights. Ah! Those rights are effective even in our own country. Really? No matter what happens, he can never be tried in our courts. He retains some very special rights indeed. Why would you give somebody, like, an immunity to crimes, basically? I get that he also has, like, this court system under his thumb and everything, but, like, seriously, that just doesn't seem like the type of thing you should do. It doesn't really matter how high of a position in anything you are. If you do a crime, it should be a problem. Basically, no matter what wrongs he may commit, we can't bring him to trial here. So I guess we really don't stand a chance, do we? Oh, well, there goes all the wind out of your sails. We might stand a chance if we can somehow nullify either of his special rights. How exactly do you propose we go about doing any of that? Yes? What do you gotta say about the investigation? We've come too far to give up. We must expose Ambassador Alba's misdeeds, Mr. Edgeworth. Well, technically we already have. It's just that we can't do anything about it. Yes, of course. And we gotta find a way to steal the truth and get it out there. For my father's sake. Yes, and we will. The reason for Ambassador Alba's nervousness must be here somewhere. Furthermore, I need to pin down exactly what happened in here. And I'll start by thoroughly examining this room for any information I can find. Okay, sure. If the game says we need more evidence for stuff, then I'll find it. Mr. Edgeworth, if you don't pay attention, Ambassador Alba's gonna get away. I'm aware of that. Now hurry up and do that swing thing you always do. I have no idea what you're talking about. you mistaking me with freaking Wayne Campbell? I do not swing. What? You don't? Oh, come on. You know what I'm talking about. That thing you do. Are you talking about logic? Yeah, that's it. So hurry up and let swing already. Okay, but fine, but you have to be Garth. To be honest, it's a bit hard to connect everything up until now by just looking. However, I should be able to piece things together if I take another look at my leads. Perhaps now is the time to use logic and reason my way to the truth, as opposed to all those other times when I don't do that, I guess. So I only got I've got 3 things, all right? I've got an aggravated, an agitated, or whatever, Alba renovations, and the counterfeiting up. We really should look around and see if there's anything else I need. Oh, hello, what's this? Hello? This was taken just before the 2 ambassadors gave their bouquets to the Steel Samurai. Wait, is it just my imagination? Or is there something in this picture that I've seen before? You mean besides the 3 people in the photo and the backdrop? And we'll rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Okay, what am I looking for? Ooh! Oh! Hold up! I recognize that! It appears to be a bouquet of Persian... It's a bouquet of flowers. Wow! You even know the exact species? I never would have figured you for an expert on flowers. Yeah. It's all because of those flowers that old lady sends me every month. Just look at me, I sound like some sort of botanist. And there is no greater shame on this earth than to be a botanist! God, Lord! So, what exactly is this yellow flower here? Huh, that one, I'm not sure. What? You don't know? I just said I'm not a botanist! As far as I can recall, I've never seen a flower like this before, mostly because I don't think it is. But I feel as though I've seen the shape somewhere before. Yeah, hold up. Let me deduce a few things in here. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah. It even has the where'd it go? There it is. It even has the thingamadoo that's missing. So yeah. Eureka! Babble's national symbol is the butterfly and Alabast is the flower. It would appear that someone is employing the old hide a tree in a forest trick. Why would you try to hide a tree? And also, how would you hide a tree? They're very... I get that you get a tree in there, but I mean, like, how would you move a tree? That don't make no sense. What are you mumbling to yourself about? Crimes, Kay! Wait, what? The handle on this knife, ah! Yes, it's the handle that was supposed to be on the blade that killed Mr. Cochin. The weapon that killed him was carried through the Theatrum Naturalis, and the very bouquet Ambassador Alba was carrying. Tricky, tricky! The flower motif. It looks like one of the flower petals is missing. Oh, and take a look at that weapon itself. It's missing the exact same petal. And the knife in this photo is most definitely the same as this murder weapon. Yo! Alright, I don't really fully know if that helps me in any shape, way, or form, but yo! Alright, so what else am I supposed to be looking at here? Oh, I know a real quick way to be able to find out. Let's see, what if I did this? I already checked this area already. Okay, generally I think he says that when there's nothing left to see. Nope, didn't mean to do that either. Sorry, Kay, didn't mean to make you think that I was about to ask you for some stuff. Let's see. Flowers were sent by a variety of people and businesses to celebrate the goodwill event. Even the Steel Samurai received some flowers from the ambassadors. There's so many bouquets here, it's like a wedding ceremony. I believe the flowers for those are for a slightly different reason. Nani? What do you mean? This event was supposed to be like a wedding between Alabast and Babel, right? Actually, I believe they're more in a state of divorce. Okay then, this event was supposed to be their remarriage ceremony. Huh. I suppose you could call it that. She's not entirely wrong, let's be real. Okay, I can't really do much of anything with that. I don't really see much of anything else that I'm expected to be able to find here, so... What am I expected to do here? I don't see any of these things. If that knife thing on the picture was a thing, I feel like I could add to that. Okay, let's carefully look over everything. All right, you already checked. Let's make double, triple sure, okay? Can't believe he was pretending to be a harmless old grandpa. Talk about deceptive. I don't suppose anyone expected him to change that drastically. Although, admittedly, we probably should start expecting things like that. It's happened more than a few times. I bet he's thinking of something evil behind that cheery smile. Okay, please, try to remain calm and focused on the here and now. Yeah, you're right. Sorry I got all worked up there. Well, the only way we're going to be able to steal the truth is if we keep on investigating. Alright. I don't see any reason to inspect the samurai or, why am I... Polano? Damn it. Your name is hard to remember. Names are hard. There's that troublemaker standing there smack in the center making two peace signs. Well, the Steel Samurai stands out even more than the two ambassadors in the picture. Mostly due to the fact that he looks like a big robot. Oh, hey, the person playing the Steel Samurai is one of your friends, right? Tragically, yes. No, I have no idea who he is. Ah, so he denies it. What? But you just said he. You knew what gender he was, so you must know him, right? I mean, I guess it's not exclusive for the character gender to be the person inside the costume, but it's a fairly safe guess. I beg that you please refrain from talking about that person with me ever again. I cannot stress this enough. I don't want to talk about it. Mr. Palino has a really great smile, don't you think? I bet he was really happy that they were going to become Cadopia again. Perhaps. But instead, he became the greatest victim in today's case. An ambassador like him, who is always thinking of his country, is really to be admired. Yeah, although this happened, I hope they'll be able to reunite the country someday. I hope so as well, but for that to happen, we need to solve this case first. We need to see to it that those who would harm the new Cadopia are locked away. And we will! Alright, so I feel very safe on the belief that there's nothing left there. Can I talk to you? On the orders of Ambassador Alba, no one is allowed into Alabast, I guess except for Von Karma, because that's what they did. But I thought a lady with a whip passed through here not too long ago. She's from Interpol, and had the proper paperwork. So while I was reluctant, I had to let her in. Sounds like Francisca, alright. Besides, if I didn't, that whip of hers... Yep, definitely Francisca. Ah, delightful. Okay, I am all manner of confused. What am I even supposed to do? Like, I thought I checked literally everything there is to check. Nothing there. I already looked at the photo. I looked at the flowers. I looked over there. I'm looking over here. Do I want to talk to you? Hello, and welcome to the Embassy of Babel. I'm sorry, but I don't really need to enter your country at this time. Right now, for a limited time here at the Babelese Embassy, we're offering the very special experience, the Terrifying Fire's Ashes Tour. So, how about it? Shall I sign you up? We're fine, thanks. We have an investigation to run. Also, we've been there several times over. Maybe these are different flowers? Oh, by the Global Studios. Global Studios? That's where they filmed the Steel Samurai television show. They have produced hit after hit recently, so the studio is being remodeled. Oh, I read about that in the papers the other day. That mascot of theirs is also getting a facelift too, right? What's his name? You mean Mrs. Monkey? Yeah, I thought it was something like that. You really have a great memory. Never underestimate my powers of recollection. It's true, he doesn't even carry most of this stuff around. Would have thought maybe I could look at that again, but no. But none of this stuff looks like it works together. Undergoing renovations. What is he upset about? The counterfeiting operation? No, that doesn't... I don't want to blow through all of my stuff. What am I missing here? Okay, so I'm just kind of at wit's end, I guess. There's nothing else I can possibly do. It's got to be some combination of these three. Okay, used Babelese Embassy printing press and Babelese ink to make counterfeit bills. The Babelese Embassy is undergoing renovations from top to bottom. I sense that there is something he doesn't want us to investigate. These two? I'm not sure how they connect. But okay, sure. It was a desperate play. We know that the counterfeiting bills were printed using the embassy's press, but the necessary materials, such as the Babelese ink and paper, must have been hidden in a secure location. But what do you think would have happened if the renovation had begun? Well, he probably had to find a better hiding place or get rid of it all. Right, so we can assume that the renovation was the cause of the plate and bills disposal. And the reason Mr. Cochin was killed as the ringleader of the smuggling operation. Based on what we know, who do you think was that had the most to gain? I'm gonna go ahead and say probably Alba. That's my guess. It's the one person who has been erasing all evidence of the smuggling operation. From both embassies, the co-conspirator... Okay, I guess that makes... I'm sorry. Sorry that took so long, guys. Anyway, moving on. Who is mopping up? Ambassador Alba. Ambassador Alba had a very strong motive to kill Manny Cochin. Then maybe that's what he wants us to not investigate? The fact that he has a motive? I hope so, because I got nothing else to work with here. Okay. The cause of Ambassador Alba's agitation, the rotten treasure we may find, and the motive for killing Mr. Cochin. Miss Yu said it herself that she didn't kill anyone tonight. If we are to take her words at face value, which, I mean, let's be completely real with you, we really probably shouldn't, but for the sake of argument, let's do so for the moment, then the reason for the ambassador's nervousness can only be one thing. He didn't want us to discover the real circumstances under which Mr. Cochin was killed. Then you mean Ambassador Alba is the real killer? But I thought the two of them were friends. Maybe they were, but what if Mr. Cochin was the one who first betrayed their friendship? Oh, I get it. Wasn't Mr. Cochin pushing really hard for Mr. Palino to be ambassador after the reunification? So that was the real reason why he wanted to steal Alabast's Prima Duck statue. So Mr. Cochin hired Damas II to go steal it from him. But when Ambassador Alba found out what he was up to, he killed Mr. Cochin? There's definitely a possibility at this point. Those two really were thinking of no one but themselves. Evil people tend to be like that. But the question now is, how did he do it? Ambassador Alba was in Alabast, but Mr. Cochin's body was discovered in Babel, right? Right. And that is what we must solve next. Body relocation? I believe we now understand why Ambassador Alba was so nervous and agitated. I thought it was just straight up because he thought we were on to him already, but okay. It must have something to do with where Mr. Cochin was killed. A place where the Alabastian ambassador was likely to meet the Babylese Mr. Cochin. The place where Ambassador Alba happened to have committed the murder is, I can only assume, the Theatrum Neutralis. Not entirely sure where else it could be. The only place that makes sense is here at the Theatrum Neutralis. What? Here? The Goodwill event was being held here today, correct? So the only place that the both of them would have been is in here. But if that's the case, then everything changes. This theater isn't actually Alabastian land. So that wipes out one of those extraterritorial rights he has. Which makes logical sense, in which case it is a reason for us to investigate further. Oh! So because this is neutral ground, it's technically neither side's actual territory. And if it's nobody's territory, then it's gotta belong to the country that it resides in. Oh, that's handy. Okay, that I guess there are ways around these things. So what should we check out? Let's see. I believe we should check the immigration records for both Alabast and Babel post-haste. Babel's records should be easier to obtain. However, the problem will be Alabast. I wonder if they would allow us to see their records despite the order to vacate. And then Francisco is here. Hello! I'm already one step ahead of you, Miles Edgeworth. Francisco? I have here the security footage from both Alabast and Babel. Well, that's incredibly convenient. And then everything fell over. That's fun. Sorry about that. Something important actually fell over. Hi, this has been a very train wrecky kind of time for me. You would do well to take a look at its contents. All right. I will look at its contents. You move fast. Von Karma strives to be perfect in every way. It's not in my nature to keep on retreating like this. I took the liberty of looking over the Babel investigation reports as well. From now on, you will make no excuse to back down or say that we can't solve this case. Yeah. I'm sorry about earlier. We won't be beaten, because my cute little subordinate is going to try his very best, isn't he? I shouldn't be happy that she said that. Kinda am, though. Hasn't she patronized me enough for a lifetime? Perhaps. Still a compliment, though. So this video contains footage from Alabast's immigration screening area? I really hope there's something in here that we can use. Well, if not, we're completely screwed, so... I mean, we really wouldn't be able to beat the game if not, so I'm gonna go ahead and say probably. Alright, well, there's an old man. Alright, well, there's a Larry. Interesting that they all came in 1 minute at a time, though. That's kind of funny. Alright, I'm going to go with this one. This is probably the most interesting. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? That's something worth taking note of. What's up with all of the... What's with the lumps? Doesn't something about this lump shape strike you as odd? Eh? Isn't that supposed to be this shape? No, there's clearly something odd about the bulge. That's a sentence. If only we had the pushcart itself, we could compare and confirm my hunch. Interesting. Next, let us check the footage from Babble's security camera. I hope it shows us something good. I mean, I got new things, so that's always good. Phooey. There wasn't a single sign of a suspicious person or anything. That right there is the contradiction. Eh? Did I miss something? You didn't miss anything, because there was nothing to miss. However, what is missing is the image of Mr. Cochin entering his own country. But wasn't his body found in Babel? It would appear that the true face of our final puzzle has finally revealed itself. So the question of the millennium is, well, then how the hick and heck did he go and do that then? That's a lot of legs I just heard. Ambassador Alba! I thought I asked for you and your group to vacate the premises, Mr. Edgeworth. Actually, I thought I should let you know that this theater sits on my country's soil. You've had your fun, and I've enjoyed our little game. I dare say that you've even achieved a new high score. This ain't Gallagher! However, once you've recorded a score, that same game can never be replayed again. I mean, the same game that you made a score on, I guess, not, but the game itself, yeah. I feel like your metaphor has some holes. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Not really. Your game is done, and it's game over. No. I say thee nay. Where do you think you're going at this time of night? After admitting to my crime, I was overcome with regret. So I'm heading to the airport now to return home. I'm afraid I can't let you do that. There are still too many issues we need to discuss with you. You can't stop me as Mr. Edgeworth, and you know it. Well, now who's holding it? Oh. Please, may I have a little bit of your time, Ambassador Alba? Ambassador Palino? Even just a teeny tiny bit is fine with me. The already strained relationship between our countries is in a precarious situation, you know. Very well. If you insist, I will play just one more round with them and see what they want. Not that they'll get any farther. Ambassador Palino, you just straight up did us an actual, real deal, factual solid. This guy's legit. Mr. Edgeworth, all I wish is for the normalization of relationships between our two countries. There's one person standing in the way of that dream. I believe in you. You'll do what's right. Thank you for your vote of confidence. All right, not sure how I'm gonna do this, but we're gonna make it work. Now then, what was it you wanted to ask me about? I do have a flight to catch after all, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to limit you to just one question. That's more than enough, because I only have one question anyway. I want to hear your alibi about how you couldn't have killed Mr. Manny Cochin. Huh! I see. You seem to have a good hand this time around. This should be fun. This really is the very last chance we have to bring him down. I won't allow even an atom-sized contradiction to slip by. Okay. What are we working with here? Frankly, I still don't understand why I'm being placed under suspicion here. Under your hypothetical scenario, Mr. Cochin and I were fellow smugglers. But to get to the point, I was an alabast the whole time. So it's simply not possible for me to have killed him in Babel. This is my alibi. I mean, that's a pretty solid alibi, but I don't like it. So that is your alibi. Yes, that is literally word for word what I just said. Why are you asking again? You're stalling! That is correct. It's simply not possible for me to have committed a crime in Babel. Now that we've cleared that up, I'd appreciate it if you would move out of my way. Hey, how about no? I said hold it. What is it this time? I thought I told you I'd only allow one question. Smug. You did. But you still have yet to really answer my one question. What? Until you tell us the truth, I will refuse to budge an inch from where I'm standing. Very well. I'll play with you just a little longer. Miles Edgeworth, as my subordinate and representative of this country's prosecutors, you are forbidden to lose. Of course, this is something I've understood from the start. That guy's the one who ordered my father killed, isn't he? Yes, I believe so. The goal of the first Yatagatasu was the capture of the smuggling ring's leader. my father and Uncle Bad. Their legacy will live on through me, and also you too, Edgeworth, to an extent, I believe. So that's why we've just got to catch him, okay? We will, I promise. Now, Ambassador Alba, let's have it the truth now, shall we? No matter how many times you ask, my answer remains the same. Yeah, well, we'll find out soon enough. All right, let's see. Now we're fellows. I believe. I mean, I feel like I need to press things, but this doesn't make any sense, so I guess we'll start here. It's not a hypothesis. Earlier we proved it to be what happened. Well, let's leave that to one side for now. Or we could not do that, because it doesn't change the fact that I have no motive. Oh, so you really had no reason to kill Mr. Cochin? If you want to suppose I had one, then why not? I'll indulge you. After all, this is nothing more than a silly game to me. Even if that's how you see things, I'd appreciate it if you would take me seriously. I'm sorry, I am just so blisteringly evil. I'm sorry, I suppose you are in a bit of a pickle. Very well, a game is no fun if the playing field isn't level. Therefore, I formally claim that I have no motive to kill. Now let's see you disprove it. Why would he stand there looking proud when he knows he killed another human being? Well, two, well, I'm not gonna stand by and just watch him get away with his crimes. All right, in that case, what motive would I have to kill? Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, what would your motive be? It would be, as soon as I can re-identify the thing! This looks like a motive to me. If you want to know, I believe you did have a motive to kill. It was because Mr. Cochin had betrayed you. But you had your own reason too. Namely, you wanted to pin the smuggling all on him. Evil begets evil, and because you were trying to test each other, it turned into this mess, making you the biggest baguette of all. I don't believe this. You have a bad penchant for telling tall tales, Mr. Prosecutor. And if you're not, then I suppose you have some proof to support your argument. I never use guesswork in moving my cases forward, unlike someone else I might know. It has been proven that this note was written by Mr. Cochin's hand. Shall we take a look at it? The content of the note is a request calling for the theft of Alabaster Primaduck's statue. By killing him and pushing all of the guilt for the smuggling onto him, you walk away spotless. I believe you understand what I'm driving at. You had more than a few reasons to kill him. Damn, that's a hell of an objection. Are you finished with your hypothesizing? Excuse me? Let's suppose I did have a motive. Even so, a motive or a thought alone can't kill. Isn't that right? I didn't expect him to resort to playing with the semantics game with me. It appears that this is where the real battle will begin. I get the impression this dude's been playing this exact quote-unquote a game quite a lot over his life. Now then, if you will excuse me. Wait, what? I told you at the very beginning, didn't I? You only get one question. Ah! Damn it. Ambassador Alba, if you could please just give us a little bit more of your time. It doesn't matter what kind of man Manny was, he was my subordinate. Which is why I would like for us to figure out the real cause of his death. That is something for Bobble to figure out, and something to which I have no relation to. Damn. Now he's even turning down a request from Ambassador Palino. I'm very sorry, but it seems now that even my voice falls on deaf ears. There's no need for you to apologize, Ambassador Palino. Straight up, you did us a solid. I must find some way to stop him from leaving. It seems there are no further objections. In that case, please allow me to return home. Hold it! Who we got? It's Kay! Okay! Hold it right there, Ambassador Alba. Kay? Like I said, Mr. Edgeworth, you got a goddess whose legacy will live on through me. Yes, but how do you suggest we stop him from leaving? You just leave that to me. Ambassador Alba, do you recognize this? No, and why should I recognize that tattered old organizer? Wait, where have I seen that before? It's pretty clear what it is, Edgeworth. That is a clue my father, Byrne Faraday, left for us. Did you say Byrne Faraday? Mr. Faraday's organizer. Don't tell me this is the one from the second KG-8 incident. The one in which he wrote about the Yatagatasu's key? Yes. This organizer belonged to the prosecutor you had Miss Yu kill 7 years ago. I have no idea what you're talking about. You say that like it was related to me. Yeah, the flop sweat 3.5 seconds ago meant nothing, apparently. Inside this organizer, he wrote up every detail of every evil thing you did. What an amusing little girl you are! But that sort of trickery won't work on me. If you won't believe me, then take a look at this. What is that toy there? A little bit of magic up in here! This thievery device was used by the Yatagatasu, or rather by my father. 7 years ago, he used this when he snuck into this embassy. What? These 2 pieces of evidence that hold information the Yatagatasu dug up on you. If you go home now, I won't hesitate to send it all to Alabaster right behind you. Little girl, get to the point. I want you to go up against Mr. Edgeworth one more time. If you win, then I'll hand over these 2 pieces of evidence. Yatagatasu, have a thorn in my side. Damn, Kay! Hey, does that organizer really contain any information on his dirty dealings? It's nothing case-breaking, really. Ah, then it was just a bluff, but a bluff that totally worked! Hey, we take those! Even if it was, we still can't let all the info my father and Uncle Bad found go to waste. Plus, just the existence of Little Thief is troublesome enough for him. You just bought us even more time! Hell yeah! Those 2 pieces. Aren't they keepsakes of your father? It's okay. I believe in Mr. Edgeworth. He'll come out on top in the end. That is a lot of faith. I deeply appreciate that. I really do. When the going gets tough, someone's got to be there to put the wind back in your sails. And an incredibly energetic teenage girl is sometimes just the way to do it, especially in Ace Attorney games. After all this time, you're still quite the feisty one. I applaud your powerful nature. You get the impression we're really coming together as a super team right now, you know? I refuse to lose this too. Ambassador Alba, you won't be returning home until you give us further testimony. How dare you all, barring a person like me. Ambassador Alba, your testimony if you please. Arrgh. All right, but this is the absolute last. Then, even if you use all the power of Ambassador Palino's office, you won't stop me. I can't let this opportunity Kay has created for me to go to waste. All right. What do we got? The last time I met with Mr. Cochin was here at the Theatrum Neutralis. After that, I was in Alabast the rest of the time, as I stated earlier. In any case, I did not see Mr. Cochin again after that. So you see, there's no time span in which I could have killed him. Wouldn't you agree? Ooh! No. Yeah. I gotcha. Now, since you people were practically begging, I'll allow you to question me. What an arrogant old man. Yes, but no matter. We can't allow this chance to escape us. I will warn you, though, you've reached the end of my patience. Waste my time with any inane questions and you will be punished. Oh, okay, so don't press. Got it. I don't think I need to. So any needless pressing or presenting will cost more to our case. In that case, the only thing you can do is to present the correct evidence, understood? Honestly, my track record for that in general with this series is pretty good, so I think we're okay. I just gotta theorize properly and not second-guess myself. Of course, I don't intend to let him intimidate me. I know Mr. Cochin was killed before he returned to Babel, in which case there's only one statement to which I need to present the evidence. All right, then I believe that I know what I need to do. Okay, so go there, not there. Okay, there is no time span in which you could have done so. I believe that there was. The music stopped and Edgeworth be looking smug. I'd like you to take a look at this picture. It's a rather nice picture, isn't it? I was to commemorate the restoration of relationships between our nations. Oh, it's commemorative, all right. One that captures the proof I need to show that it was you who committed the murder. Come again. This is the knife that killed Mr. Cochin. You may not have it back. I've learned my lesson from last time. I see you recognize it. As well you should, for it was you who brought it to this theater. You hid it among the flowers you were to give to the Steel Samurai. It's really helpful that this thing has, been blown up and displayed here. Meaning that you killed Manny Coach in here at the theater. It's time for me to catch my flight. We're not through yet. It's game over for you, Mr. Edgeworth. But I thank you for the entertainment. No matter how passionately you orate, the end result will still be the same. I won't be returning to this country ever again. That's right. This man is an ambassador. He has extraterritorial rights. No matter how hard we chase after him, we won't be able to have him tried in court. Yes, that's exactly the face you should be making. The face of a worthless cur. Oh, I know you did not just call Edgeworth, Miles goddamn Edgeworth, a cur. Not you, Pinocchio. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, I must bid you farewell. The courts. Is there no one who can lay a finger on this man? Is this really the end? And then Lang was here! Hello! Agent Lang! Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Prosecutor. What exactly did you do? Get out of my way. Or are you just gonna block the door? That's a viable strategy. Get out of my way. My plane is scheduled to take off soon. Sorry, but you're not going anywhere, Mr. Alba. I'm through playing games with you people. You can't touch me. Easy joke's too easy. If you do it, it would spark an international incident, Agent Lang. Sorry, but no, it wouldn't. What? Hey, Mr. Prosecutor, good job holding the fort down here until I got back. So, Mr. Alba, your diplomatic immunity has just been revoked. Well, how did you do that? What do you mean, revoked? Spare me this nonsense and let me through. Langzy says, before aiming for the throat, chew the neck shield off first. How many things have neck shields? Is that really that common? Did you need that to be a saying? He's helping. Don't be a jerk. He's being nice. Interpol headquarters in the Imperial household of the Kingdom of Alabast. Took a while to get things rolling, but they finally moved on it. The Imperial household? What have you done? You've been relieved of your duties as ambassador, Mr. Alba. Damn. What? What? Well, that's exceedingly helpful. Effective today, effective right now. And you have Mr. Prosecutor's videotape to thank for this. The video the Yada Goddess protected. You can't be arrested simply because you're an ambassador? In that case, I thought I'd strip you of that title. You underestimated me, a descendant of the founder of detainment philosophy, Lang Zi. I didn't realize that was one of Lang Zi's teachings. When dealt with extraterritorial rights, revoke their ambassadorship. That's incredibly specific. Maybe I've been giving Lang Zi a bad rep. 4,000 years of deeply entrenched connections and networks around the world. It really paid off. Can't be. I don't believe this. My ambassadorship has been revoked. Looks like you're finally coming to grips with your new standing. Looks like he turned docile again. He's probably in shock from the loss of his shield. What a shame. I had so wanted to use my whip on him. Why is this happening to me? I'm just a hard-working, honest ambassador. Do you really think you can still pull that on us now? We've already ripped away the mask and seen you for who you really are, Mr. Alba. Yeah, the frail shtick ain't gonna work no more. No. I won't be stopped now. He still intends to fight us? So what if I'm no longer an ambassador? You still don't have any evidence on me. The fact remains that you cannot arrest me. I'd expect no less from you, the boss of the smuggling ring. Well, the rest is up to you, Mr. Prosecutor. Understood! I can work with this! You say that I killed Mr. Cochin in the theater. But even if it's true that there was a knife in my bouquet, I left that bouquet in the theater. So anyone could have taken it out from there and used it, right? Besides, the claim that he was killed here itself is odd. After all, wasn't his body discovered in Babel? Are you claiming that I carried his body all the way over there? Preposterous! I'll be the one to prove whether it's preposterous or not. Gakken! Ex-Ambassador Alba, are you ready? Because this is no game. This is war. War is hell, man. Alright, what do you got this time? I killed Mr. Cochin in the theater using a knife that was stuck in my bouquet. I left that bouquet in the theater! Anyone could have taken the knife from there. Besides, Mr. Cochin's body was discovered in Babel, right? There's no way for me to have transported his body from the theater to Babel. Okay, well, this is easy enough. Look, don't you think you've had enough fun with me? You've already stolen my ambassadorship from me. Would you have me surrender too? For murder? Yes. Yes, I would. You have no plans to ever return to this country, isn't that right? Did you know that a bunch of your subordinates are seeking asylum because of you? As if I care. Hey, Mr. Prosecutor, put this guy out of the embassy and we can finally end everything. I know, and I'll give it to my all to see that he leaves in handcuffs. Without the title of ambassador, he's just another witness. Yes, just another witness. Tighten the gloves. All right, what are we waiting for? Let's get this guy. And get him good. I wonder if they understand that all I can do is present evidence to the testimony. It's still good enough. Whatever works, guys. Come on now. There's no sense in turning down the motivation. Anyway, I think I've already got this one figured out. So you had no way of being able to transport the body, huh? What about that lumpy-ass pushcart? I wouldn't put it past Larry to accidentally move a body around because he didn't bother to pay any attention to what he was doing. That's exactly the type of thing that would happen to him. Actually, I do believe there was a way to transport the body out of the theater. Perhaps you should give this a look. What is that supposed to be? It's footage from a security camera that captured the state of the immigration area. Should I congratulate you on getting your hands on it? Yes. Yes, you should. Just letting you know that we're not the only ones watching your every movement. Thank you for the warning. Now, if you could take a good look at this section here. This lump here inside the pushcart, do you know what's causing it? Should I? Because I don't. In that case, allow me to enlighten you. This is the cause of the unnatural lump under the cloth on the pushcart. Well, assuming I can't use the profiles, I'm guessing this. What is the meaning of showing me that? It's to say that the unnatural bulge in the pushcart is Mr. Cochin's body. You had the Steel Samurai wheel his body away from the real crime scene. What a guess! But I wonder if you have any evidence to support it. I admit that for now it is but a hypothesis. However, if you can't prove it, then I'm afraid I must be on my way. I don't have any more time to play with you people. It's suddenly Gumshoe! Sorry it took so long, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Yo, you found the damn pushcart? Gummy? Detective Gumshoe. Is that the Steel Samurai's pushcart? Yes, sir. I found it in the open-air stage area. So that's where you went. The detective spirit that Pops left with me? Yeah, I thought I'd follow my gut and go with it, sir. So, Mr. Edgeworth, is this worth anything to the case? Yes, and you somehow managed to bring it in at the exact moment when it would be most useful. Yes. It just might play a major role in solving this case, detective. Something isn't right. I thought the entire samurai family was in Alabast. Where exactly in the open-air stage area did you find this pushcart? And I found it just lying there at the edge of the stage, sir. Oh? Well, let's leave that for now and examine the inside, Detective. Yes, sir! Alright, well, the most obvious thing would be to go, whoop, and there's blood. Yeah, quick little old analysis will tell us what body's been dragged around in here. It's blood! This must be Mr. Cochin's blood, which only goes to prove that Mr. Cochin's body was indeed transported by this pushcart. Oh, that didn't do too well for you, did it? I believe you understand what this means, correct? You killed Mr. Cochin at this theater and then placed his body inside the pushcart. And then you forced the Steel Samurai to unwittingly move the body for you. I forced him to move the body into Alabast? What nonsense! Why would I bother to do such a thing? You were scheduled to make a speech in Alabast, meaning it was difficult for you to make a stop in Babel. However, what if you moved the body to Alabast? Because it was your embassy, you could keep an eye on it and tamper with the evidence. And then you smuggled it out of Alabast. No! Or yes! If I can show you how you moved the body from Alabast to Babel, then I win. But you can't! The security between the two countries is incredibly tight. I'll be the one to judge whether I can or cannot prove it. I dare say they're not quite as tight as yoga pants. And so I ask you to provide us with testimony regarding your movements after your return to Alabast. Miles Edgeworth, have you figured it out? Do you know how the body was moved? To be honest, I have nothing to support my hypothesis at the time. However, I don't believe I've made a mistake in my logic up to this point. Which means there's no question that can't be answered, right? That's the hope. And game logic will see me through by the end. The Prima Duck statue was smuggled successfully through a brief flight through the air. So why shouldn't there be an answer as to how the body was moved? Which means that there must be a logic flaw somewhere I can exploit. Alright, sure. What do you got? After I returned to Alabast, I had my picture taken with a Steel Samurai shaking hands. Then, just as I was about to start my speech, the Yatagarasu appeared. I feared for the national treasure, so I raced back to my office. Is that all? Yes, that's all. It looks like you left out a few things, such as the murder of Damask II. Furthermore, you left out the part about meeting with me in your office. Ah, those trifling matters. I don't believe I need to speak of those things again. I do so hate to waste time. Ah, isn't that convenient for you? What? You. Is not every life precious? Do you really need me to answer that for you? I murdered 2 people today. People like you cannot be allowed to wander freely through society. Then you'd better try hard, because I doubt you'll find a single contradiction. He's really full of himself, isn't he? What was your first clue? Yes, he is. How could he be so confident at a time like this? Come, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask whatever you'd like. All right, that definitely sounds like a need for pressing, but I don't really know what I can do. All right, sure. So why was it only with the Steel Samurai? I thought the Pink Princess was also around. The Pink Princess was suffering from a bad hip at the time, and the doctors recommended that she rest. Wow, so you do have a soft side after all. The pain of a bad hip. I suppose none of you can really understand how it feels. Oh, so you tend to strain your back as well, huh? Isn't that just because you're normally all hunched over? Ha! Outplayed! He did need to keep up the act no matter what, I suppose. The point of this is not to discuss my back problems. For about 15 minutes after our handshake, I was in my office preparing for the speech. Okay. The Yatagarasu was just a trick that you had set up. A most amusing joke. And how do you propose that I set it up? If you really want to know, I can explain it in detail for you. You arranged the spotlights in the rose garden so that when you were to take the stage, the audience would see the Yatagarasu's shadow. Oh, that's an interesting tale. Sadly, it has nothing to do with me. You. What's it gonna take for you to fess up to anything? Very well then, let's move on to a different question. After the Aragatasu appeared, what was the state of the Rose Garden? Everyone took refuge inside the embassy. They even helped with the effort. And then once everyone was inside, well, he feared for the national treasures, so he ran off. Like a coward! And what happened after you returned to your office? I don't want to keep on repeating this, however. Upon my return, I had that stroke of bad luck and bumped into Mask Man. And I don't want to keep on repeating this either, but his name was Damask too. Who cares what he was called? By the time he got to the Prima Duck statue that was supposed to steal, it had already been swapped for the fake. Talk about an unlucky man, being bludgeoned to death with a fake statue. Miss Aunt Carmen's really letting her whip fly now. Ah! I think the scary part is her silence when she's holding it. She must be at the limit of her patience as well. But physical attacks are meaningless here. Only evidence will suffice. What a bummer that is. I can't find a single flaw in his argument, mostly because he refused to say anything. At this rate, I won't be able to prove that he's actually guilty of anything. Are we finished here? Miles Edgeworth, can you not come up with how the body was moved to Babel? Sir. Mr. Edgeworth. Even after proving so much? Is he gonna get away with it? Is this the end? But who's left? It appears that we made it just in time. It would be a great honor if you would allow us to be your allies in battle. What in the 5 realms of what the hellery is going on right now? Evil magistrate, it is time for you to pay. It's the Steel Samurai? No, you are mistaken, for I am. I really don't like having to say that name. Steel Samurai Daddy, married man of Neo Old Tokyo. And this is Pink Princess Mom. Why is this a thing I'm having to read? I know it's Larry and Old Bag. Ugh. Ugh. The 2 people that I wanted to see the least? Larry! What are you 2 doing here? Way to show your gratitude, Edgy. We just wanted to help. Yeesh. I'm gonna get the bad guy with a single thrust of my samurai. Don't stab him. Go away. That is the best retort. How can you be so mean to us? All 3 of us came to lend a hand, and this is how you treat us? Well, isn't this grand? I see they managed to find the Iron Infant. Does that really matter right now? Hey, is it just me, or is the Iron Infant completely soaked? Oh, yeah. I found him in Babel, but he was in the middle of the pool. Wait a second, what? Larry, go back to what you just said. Huh? Oh, it appears that we made it not that far back. Something about finding the Iron Infant in Babel? And he found it in a pool. I don't recall there being one in Babel. Oh, that. Well, I was in Alabasta the whole time. So I have no idea how the Iron Infant wound up in Babel. And I thought I had lost him in the Rose Garden. And I guess maybe this cute kid can swim, huh? Wait, what? Larry, you lost the Iron Infant in the Rose Garden? Are you sure about that? Yeah, I'm sure. But I found him in... That's enough, Larry. You've said enough. I can work with this. The Iron Infant that Larry lost managed to move between the 2 countries? Furthermore, the Iron Infant was found soaked in the middle of a pool? This is what I've been looking for. It's another smuggling route between the countries. The key to the route the Iron Infant took to travel from Alabasta to Babel is... Well, it's not the Yatagatasu or counterfeiting. Oh! I get it! This place is built to be mirrored. That's right, this embassy was built with bilateral symmetry in mind. Detective Gumshoe! Yes, sir? There's a location I wish for you to examine post-haste. It is where I believe the route used to smuggle Mr. Cochin's body lies. Something like that really exists, sir? An embassy built on bilateral symmetry, meaning that this is where we need to examine. I guess right here would make sense. Is there a secret pool Yes, sir. I'll be back before you know it. Come show away! It's too late. Doesn't matter now what you do. It's all a waste of time. You will stay here with us and wait. You don't get a choice. You don't have a job. Mrs. Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth, it's here, sir. There's a reservoir here, just like in the Rose Garden. Just as I suspected. What is it? The two sides of this embassy are mirror images of each other, which means that there is also a pool at the corresponding location of the Babalese side. I guess they just put a stage on top of it? Mr. Cochin's body was moved into Babel through the pool in Alabast. Oh, what? Avoiding the topic with a vague answer like that is unbecoming of a prosecutor. Yes, but the sweating definitely tells me that I'm right. If you don't mind, I'd like to see more physical proof if you have any. This guy. The Iron Infant is positively soaked in water. Why do you think that is? It's because he was fished out of a pool. And not just any pool, it was the Babalese one. I think it's pretty obvious at this point what must be true. The water reservoirs in the two courtyards are connected. Oh, that would actually make sense because that's how they would use the money to put the water to put out the fire. And where's your proof that the two sides are connected? Smuck. The proof is right there before your eyes. The half-drowned Iron Infant. This blasted doll! Gumshoe is returned! Mr. Edgeworth, I'm back! Hey, don't tell me you guys figured everything out without me? We did, thanks to this hero of justice's son. Not Larry, though. Just the doll. Even if he is just a doll, he managed to help foil the villain. Hey, Mr. Prosecutor. Look, I don't want to say this, but it's kind of unlikely that the body just happened to have passed on through to Babel. This guy's a doll, and he's small, so I can believe it made it, but he has a point. Yes, that's right. I'm glad someone here understands. Mr. Edgeworth, are you going to next propose that a dead body can swim through a pipe? You see, Mr. Prosecutor? A chase after this man is far from over. Agent Lang. Why is he helping Mr. Alba out now? He's not. He realized a flaw in my argument and is helping to move the logic along. It seems like he's trying to be a hindrance, but no, he's just making sure it's bulletproof. In which case, I should return the favor and find an answer. And another thing. Mr. Cochin's body was found in his office in Babel. So what happened to his body after it was transported to the open-air stage? Luckily, I think I actually already can answer this. Mr. Alba had an accomplice in Babel, remember? You mean Shana, right? With her there, you can see how it was possible to move the body up to the office. Are you seriously claiming that she swam through the connecting pipe with the body? He's right. Miss Shana would drown if she did that. It's hard to imagine that she swam through the connecting pipe. Wouldn't it be convenient if the water level was much lower because they used the water to put out a fire and we were, bore witness to it refilling not that long ago? Looks like our hypothesis about how the body was moved is still only half-baked. In the end, it's all just the befuddled musings of an accusatory man. So you say. Now then, I believe you should give up and allow me a passage. Because from the start, there was no feasible method of transporting the body. What? Mr. Prosecutor, recall Shana's movements. What was happening in the embassy around the time Miss Shana was in Babel? Oh, if only there was a way to get rid of the water in the pool. Get rid of the water? Kay! You adorable ninja person! Ah, of course! I already knew that, but Edgeworth didn't. Ah, that's it. Now I believe this time we really are done, right? Ah, shut your old manhole. Unfortunately for you, it's far from over, Mr. Alba. You are a most persistent man. Yeah, that's a very pot and kettle situation. Are you saying that you've thought of a way to move the body through the water? Move the body through the water? Well, that's completely unrelated to how it was done. Excuse me? The reason I say that is because there wasn't any water there at the time. What do you mean there wasn't any water? Just what it sounds like. Tonight's events made it possible to drain the water, allowing the body to be moved. Yeah, tonight's events. The fire. There was so much of it. Tonight, the Yatagatasu set fire to a variety of locations in the Babalese embassy. In order to put the fires out, much of the reservoir's water was used. Of course, when the water was used, the reservoir's water level went down. If enough water was drained, the connecting pipe could be used to traverse the border. So what? The water level went down? The reservoirs were connected? Does any of this matter? You can't prove any of this. Smug. Pretending to be ignorant won't work with me. We both know what kind of situation we're in right now. Even in a game, there comes a critical game-changing moment. A moment in which you hit a wall that you must overcome in order to beat the game. I haven't lost yet. I found the route you used to smuggle the body, and that route will lead to your defeat. Even if all the water was used by the firefighting effort, you still can't really call that a smuggling route. I know that. Yeah, I should have figured that you would notice. Hey, Mr. Alba, how deep are those pools anyway? I'll have you know those pools are extremely deep. Deeper than my soliloquies. And there are no ladders or footholds along the walls either. It'd be difficult for Shana to hold the body and climb up out of the pool. Ladders or footholds along the walls? There's no need for such things. What do you mean? If one were to use a certain something, they could go up or down in the pool at will. Oh, looks like you got an answer already. Well, what are you waiting for, Mr. Prosecutor? Enlighten us already. The way in which Miss Shana and the body were able to rise up to ground level. If there was a way to control the water level, that could be the way the body was moved. And we know that there is. This was used so that the body and Miss Shana could move up and down in the pool. Dun 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 dun. Mr. Alba used the fountain spouts in a manner of speaking. Use the fountain spouts? How so? The water level in the pools can be controlled by opening and closing the spouts. Miss Shana and the body were lifted upward by the buoyancy in water. The fire on the Babalese side and the firefighting effort. These were set in motion all for the sake of smuggling Mr. Cochin's body. Shall I show you where the final destination of my train of logic leads? First, Mr. Alba closed the fountain spouts in advance in preparation of things to come. Then he took the pushcart that was brought to the rose garden and pushed it, along with the iron infant and Mr. Cochin's body, into the pool. At this time, Miss Shana was busy conveniently starting the first fire in Babel. She then made for the open-air stage's pool to wait for the firefighting effort to begin. When the firefighters used the water in that pool, the water level went down. And by the time the fire was put out, the pipe between the two pools was exposed. This is when she pushed the pushcart from Alabast into Babel. Once that was accomplished, Mr. Alba simply opened the fountain spouts once more. That'll do it. And it also explains why the pushcart was there. And the water level rose up to its original level, along with Miss Shana and the body. Ea-ta-ta-ta, ea-ta-ta-ti. After that, Miss Shana used the pushcart to carry the body up to Secretariat's office. There's an elevator in the embassy after all, so you see. And that would also be why there's multiple fires. Even with her small frame, she could have easily transported Mr. Cochin's body. And that wraps up my thorough explanation of how the body was moved. Well, ex-Ambassador Alba, what do you think? Not so untouchable without your precious extraterritorial rights to protect you, are you? I knew you could do it, Mr. Edgeworth. Way to fight back. You accuse me of moving the body across country lines? But when you get down to the nitty-gritty, you don't have what it takes to indict me. The nitty-gritty? What does the old man want now? Proof, I believe, is what he seeks. Yes, proof. Without any, who is to say whether or not any of what you said really happened? He wants proof. What are you going to do, Mr. Edgeworth? There's no need to worry. I've had all the proof we need all along. The body wasn't the only thing to go through the pool's connecting pipe tonight. Just as Detective Gumshoe found the pushcart in the open-air area, so too did I find one other item there. And that piece of evidence is what will prove that the pools were the smuggling route. This was another thing that was smuggled over to the Babel's open air stage area. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I mean, Kay found this, not you, Edgeworth, but it still counts. It still counts. What exactly is this? You have no idea, do you? This little piece that I found on the Bubbly East side will be your undoing. A guitar pick? Would you care to explain to me how this is going to do me in, as it were? Much to your charging, perhaps, but this is not a guitar pick. What? This is something I found at the open-air stage. I'm so glad I was able to figure that out. That's so cool. At the open-air stage, which was transported with the body. I naturally assumed that you would recognize it, since you took a photo with it after all. But since you don't, allow me to fill you in on what I found at the stage actually belongs to. This knife! Let us take a good look at the murder weapon that was used to kill Manny Cochin. Yata-ta-ta! On the handle of this knife, there is a beautifully blooming flower. However, it would appear that it's missing a single petal. Now, let's see what happens when we try to fit this pick in that open slot. Well, egads, would you look at that? It's a perfect fit. I assume that the petal must have fallen off the flower during Mr. Cochin's murder. And then it was accidentally placed into the push cart along with Mr. Cochin's body. You gotta be more careful with your murders. That's an interesting story. Nothing more. Oh, I assure you, it's more than just a story. Because for some odd reason, this flower petal was wet when I found it. It was wet, you say? Yes, and the only place it could have gotten wet from is the open-air stage's pool. Now I ask you, how did a part of the weapon which was smuggled into the theater wind up in the open-air stage area on the Bubbly side of the embassy? I don't think I need to waste any words explaining this, as the petal explains it all for me. It proves that someone went from the Rose Gardens pool on through into Babel. Impossible! More than possible! The people of Zengfa have been waiting to see you face to face, Mr. Alba. And I'll tell everyone back home we'll be there soon. You should be happy. Why? Why? Well, it's a little late to be asking that question. You should have known from the very beginning. When you took your first life. No matter how you may plot or how you may try to cover it all up, you can never hide from your crime and what you've done. Because we're here to see to it that justice is served to people like you. You can't call what you've given a perfect argument. You know, I don't think this guy is going to ever admit to his wrongdoings, Mr. Edgeworth. Because he values himself above all else. People who can't be negotiated with are people who refuse to admit when they've lost. I don't believe those kinds of people really exist because everyone breaks eventually. You're right. In that case, I have no choice but to use all of the evidence I have. I'll use it all until he breaks under the weight of his crimes. Mr. Alba, I request that you testify once more. This really will be the end of the line. But I want to do it now. You gotta be kidding me with these cliffhangers, people. My goodness.